You're hanging out after hours with Matt Anderson, presented by Inside the Gamecocks.
What is up, everybody? Happy to have everyone here tonight on a Monday at 9 p.m. This is the Late Night Gamecocks show, and as always, it's every Monday night here on YouTube at 9 p.m., and then it is a different podcast. It's wherever Spotify is, Spotify, Apple iTunes, wherever you get your podcast. So excited to be here with you tonight. I'm excited to talk about two Gamecock victories today. Well, I guess two today and then one on Saturday. I want to pull up the stats really quick on the girls game. I don't know what YouTube allows me to say, but on a blimp, yo, what's up? Happy to you're here with me. Craig, as always, thank you for joining me. Michael Cooper wins, absolutely. And Rodney, yeah. I mean, what a good day to be a Gamecock. We've had so many tough days lately that it's just fantastic when the guys and the girls can pull out a W. And this is really frustrating. Okay, NCAA women's basketball. I don't know if you guys have noticed this, but sometimes on ESPN.com, like NCAA women's basketball is prominently featured. And then sometimes you got to really struggle to find it. But I'm trying to pull up the box score from the girls' game today against Notre Dame. And that game was in Paris, which is pretty cool. All right, so yeah, let's start out talking about women's basketball because, I mean, unfortunately or fortunately, depending on your mindset, women's basketball is probably the flagship sport at the University of South Carolina right now. And this year, the Gamecocks are ranked number 6 in the country, but that's a little bit different than what Gamecock fans are used to, especially when it comes to women's basketball. Women's basketball has kind of been the gold standard in women's college basketball lately. And, Dawn Staley, I can't say enough about what she's done for the University of South Carolina. I can't say enough about what she's done for the basketball program at South Carolina. It's crazy to think. I think she's on year 18 now at South Carolina, and she still seems as young as ever, as motivated as ever, and just so thankful that we have Dawn Staley as our coach. And yeah, I see Will. Yeah, Will, I see you in there. LSU women losing. If I could share a screen right now, I would definitely post it because I'm looking at that. I'm watching it live. Right now, Colorado is beating LSU 63-51 with 8 seconds left in the third quarter. And y'all just putting this out there. At the end of the first quarter, it was LSU 16, Colorado 14. In the second quarter, Colorado outscored LSU 24-16. And at the end of the third quarter, it's now 63-51, but Colorado outscored LSU 25-19. So in women's basketball, it's 4 10-minute quarters. If you weren't familiar with that, so we'll be tracking this the rest of the way. Colorado's up by 12 after the third quarter, and I know that all Gamecock fans, especially with this kind of, I don't know if it's a manufactured rivalry. I don't know. I don't know. But what I can say is that South Carolina LSU is pretty much like Duke, North Carolina, or South Carolina Clemson right now when it comes to recruiting and when it comes to on-court success. So, yeah, we're not going to cry a single tear for LSU struggling with Colorado. And that game is actually in Las Vegas. So it's a neutral site game. And talking about neutral site games, let's talk about South Carolina women today. They defeated Notre Dame, who was ranked 10th in the country, 100-71. And, South Carolina, like I said at the top of the show, is ranked 6th in the country. At the end of the first quarter, Notre Dame was winning 25-24. South Carolina outscored Notre Dame 24-8 in the second quarter, 26-16 in the third quarter. And the game was well in hand at that point. And in the fourth quarter, South Carolina, or the Lady Gamecocks, I should say, outscored Notre Dame 26-22. I got to watch bits and pieces of this game. Not sure what everybody here on the show tonight got to watch. I had a couple meetings and I couldn't break away. I had the game up on my phone though, just to check the scores. But in this game, one of the things I noticed right away was that Cardozo had 20 points and 15 rebounds, and it was a steady performance from her. Yeah, Craig, you're right. Fullaway definitely won the internet today. It's not often that you get a Kevin Durant, a Magic Johnson, obviously all the women's personalities from different sports markets all tweeting about something in real life. But yeah, in real time, it was pretty awesome to see. Um, Fullaway had what I've tried to do on the playground numerous times and only done it successfully, probably 1 out of 1,000. And it really did look like what Magic Johnson used to do, back in the 80s when he played with the Lakers. It was a masterful, full court. She took the ball up the entire court. She went behind her back, but it was kind of like that whoop-de-doo kind of behind your back, not what you see like everybody do all the time. And then she kind of did like a Irish spin off the backboard. And I saw this on the Big Spur, and I've been watching Fullaway highlights for a little bit now, and it's absolutely incredible what she can do with the basketball. It's been a long time since I've seen just anybody, honestly, like even in the men's game, kind of have the basketball on a string like she does. And it's very Kyrie Irving-ish. And if you remember when Kyrie Irving was at Duke, and I've watched a lot of his high school stuff, the way he could kind of put reverse Irish on the basketball where you don't understand how it went off the backboard and spun in, that's exactly what Fullaway did today. And if you haven't seen it, Craig, maybe if you can help the folks out in here, and post that link on Twitter or YouTube or whatever, that would be great. And Full Wiley, Phil, is that correct? Maybe I'm completely mispronouncing her name. Full Willie. Yeah, guys, you all know that I'm awful at pronunciations. I respect everybody in the world that can do pronunciations. It's just not my thing. A funny inside story here. My wife and her family, the name Penelope. I saw that one time and I read it out loud, like, reading just, an article or something. And I said, Penelope. So maybe I have a little bit of dyslexia. Maybe I don't slow down and actually read and pronunciate everything perfectly, but I promise it's not for lack of effort. It's just how I read things. So yeah, Full Willie, awesome, just fantastic. She has a chance to go down as one of the best Gamecock women's basketball players that we have seen. But I don't want to take away from, obviously, Cardozo had 20 points and 15 rebounds. Raven Johnson had 11 points, 7 assists. And golly, Papoa had 14 points. You know what? Like, I'm not the women's basketball expert, but I did want to give the women a shout out because dismantling the number 10 team in the country on a neutral site in Paris to the tune of 29 points is actually fantastic and a big step in the right direction for replacing a Boston. Yeah, all the women out there, they're doing a fantastic job, and I'm blanking on a ton of names, and I do that sometimes. Moving on to tonight's game, in the men's arena. I do know a little bit more about men's basketball than I do women's basketball, but the Gamecocks did defeat South Carolina Upstate by a score of 82-53. I think it's exactly what the men needed, coming off of, somewhat of a tough exhibition game against Wofford. And, looking at this, let's go through the numbers here. South Carolina shot 54.5% from 3-point range. Absolutely fantastic shooting. 53.7% on field goals overall. Free throw line, the Gamecocks probably wanted some of those free throws back. 12 of 19, 63.2% from the free throw line. Not exactly what you're looking for there. I don't know if it was nerves, fatigue, whatever it could have been. I mean, looking at looking at ESPN's box score right now, they actually don't have the minutes, and not exactly sure how many minutes everybody played. But the starters tonight were Stephen Clark, BJ Mack, Miles Studi, Michi Johnson, and Talon Cooper. I've been telling you guys for a while that Michi Johnson and Talon Cooper are pretty daggum good. And just looking at their numbers today, Michi Johnson had 15 points on 5 field goals. Talon Cooper had 15 points on 7 field goals. They combined to go 5 for 7 from the 3-point line and 7 for 11 from the free throw line. And Talon Cooper had seven rebounds, 3 assists. Getting 6 assists out of your 2 lead guards are exactly what South Carolina was looking for. There were probably some opportunities the Gamecocks had to get more assists there from their lead guards. And then going down to Jacoby Wright. Jacoby Wright had 9 points, 4 of 7 shooting, 1 of 1 from the 3-point line, added 2 assists and 3 rebounds. I couldn't be more excited about the guard play. Michi Johnson, Talon Cooper, and Jacoby Wright are all very, very good guards for South Carolina. And in my opinion, I've said this numerous times now on multiple shows, but the great equalizer in college basketball is the 3-point shot. And is South Carolina going to shoot 54.5% from 3-point line every single game? No, they're not. But this is what allows you to have the opportunity to have some upsets. And when you look at the amount of starts and the experience that a lot of these guys have for the South Carolina men's basketball team, I mean, Stephen Clark started a lot of games at the Citadel. BJ Mack, same thing. Miles Studi, Michi Johnson, Talon Cooper. All these guys come from either relatively decent to good mid-majors or Power 5 schools. Oh, thanks, Craig. Appreciate it. Golly, Craig, I'll have to get it. I'll get it down by next week, I promise. But going through here, the Gamecocks didn't get a lot from their big men. You look at it, Stephen Clark had 2 rebounds, Josh Gray had 6, Bozeman Verdonk had 2. Outside of that, the fact that the Gamecocks were still able to get 45 rebounds in this game, big shout out to Zachary Davis getting 8 rebounds. Zachary Davis is going to be a really, really, really good player for South Carolina, and I'm excited to watch him grow. Morris, golly, I got to do another pronunciation, but Ugasuk. He obviously burned his red shirt. I've been telling you guys for a little bit that he's a guy that has a lot of potential for South Carolina. I think that he is the exact type of freshman that you bring in, and you coming from Finland and doing what he's doing right now. I mean, look, it doesn't look great, 2 of 5 for 5 points, but he probably only had 2 or 3 questionable decisions in the game. One I'm recalling right now was a pass that he made to Bozeman Verdonk that he probably shouldn't have. There was a cross quarter. And looking at it, let's see how many turnovers he had. He had 1 turnover. So he's going to get a lot better. And I think it's just really exciting to watch him grow. Obviously you didn't have Colin. Colin probably could have made a difference, but looking at KenPom right now. So KenPom had this game at South Carolina winning 77-60. And the Gamecocks won by 29 points. They scored 5 more points than KenPom predicted, and they held USC Upstate to 6 or 7 less points than KenPom predicted. So I say this a lot. I want to see teams cover spreads, whether you're the favorite or you're the underdog. The more often you do that, and you're not going to do it 100% of the time, but the more often that you do that, the better team you likely are. And in college basketball, if you bet on college basketball, or you're looking at lines and you're trying to predict what's going to happen, just look at KenPom. KenPom's going to tell you everything that the betting markets are doing, because the betting markets rely on KenPom data. So should South Carolina have been a 17-point favorite over USC Upstate? We don't know right now. We'll see what USC Upstate does the rest of the way. But what's interesting is in the in the preseason, and I'm going to pull this up right now, USC Upstate plays in the same conference as Winthrop does. And Winthrop's predicted as the 100. No, where is it? I got to look at. Anyway, can't find that stat right now. KenPom's still updating. But USC Upstate and the team the Gamecocks played last week in the exhibition are similar teams. And you saw the 17-point deficit at halftime carry over into the game tonight against USC Upstate. And the Gamecocks did everything that you would ask them to do. So excited about that. Obviously, there's a big test coming up with Virginia Tech. I think that game actually tipped off at 8 o'clock ish. I know that that Virginia Tech was like a 26-point favorite in that game. So let me see if I can find it for you really quick. Let's see what Virginia Tech's doing because that's the next game. Yeah, so Virginia Tech's up 54-27 right now on Coppin State. Coppin State, obviously, Gamecock fans have bad memories about. But let's look at the box score on that game. There's 15 minutes to go in the game, and Virginia Tech doubled them up 54-27. Let's see what we can get here. Currently, wow. Virginia Tech is shooting. Okay, I misread that. I thought they were shooting 15 of 19 from the 3-point line. That was the free throw line. So they're 5 of 18 from 3. They're 17 of 38 from just general field goals. They have a total of 29 rebounds to 12 rebounds for Coppin State. So, yeah, I mean, we need to take a look at this Virginia Tech game, see what's happening there. But, right now, Virginia Tech's doing exactly what I expect them to do, and South Carolina did exactly what I expected them to do as well. We're going to get to football, I promise you, but Craig, I want to make mention here. Talon Cooper looked great tonight. He is very smooth. The team definitely has a chance. I agree. And look, like I said on, I can't remember if it was JB's show or my show or what show, but Talon Cooper actually looks like, kind of a strong kid, a tall kid, 6'4". I mentioned that he actually has a lot more bounce than he probably showed tonight. I mean, he was doing, self alley-oop 360 windmills in warmups. So having two guys like Michi and Talon, I think are going to carry the Gamecocks as far as they can carry them. We'll see how far that is. But yeah, Talon Cooper, started his career at Morehead State, went to Minnesota. I think that he is exactly what the Gamecocks needed, as far as, what was missing last year. And I'm trying to pull this up. Yeah. Okay. I just got it. All right. So on the Big Spur, the username U-Haul, who's a good guy, a long-time poster on the Big Spur, he asked for everyone's Gamecock predictions for the basketball season. And he said, I want to know what the overall record's going to be. I want to know what the SEC record's going to be. And I want to know if we're going to be ranked at the end of the season in the top 100 on KenPom. So I'm going to go through my predictions for the South Carolina basketball season. And if you guys don't want to be a part of like this basketball stuff, just tell me and we don't have to do it. But if you guys are interested in my take, let me know, or we can go to football whenever you want. But so in the non-con, I have the Gamecocks obviously beating USC Upstate. I have them losing to Virginia Tech, but I might want to change that after what I saw tonight. I thought the team looked pretty good. Have them beating VMI, beating DePaul, and beating the winner of Grand Canyon San Francisco to win that Arizona tournament. I think the Gamecocks will be 4-1 after that tournament. I think the Gamecocks beat Notre Dame. That's 5-1. I think they'll beat George Washington. I hate to say it. I don't have high hopes for the Gamecocks beating Clemson right now. So that drops the Gamecocks to 6-2. East Carolina, I have a win. Charleston Southern, I have a win. Winthrop, I have a win. Elon, I have a win. And Florida A&M, I have a win. So I have the Gamecocks going 11-2 in the non-conference and men's basketball. The season kicks off against Mississippi State at home. And when I say the season, the conference season kicks off. So I have the Gamecocks winning that game. I think that if the Gamecocks are 11-2 in the non-con, it'll be even better if the Gamecocks are able to beat Clemson. Getting to 11-2 and creating some excitement after a football season that we might all want to forget. I think that Saturday, January 6th, I think that Colonial Life Arena is going to be rocking. They welcome Mississippi State. For the record, Ken Palm has that game at 65-64. I think the Gamecocks find a way to win that game. Takes them to 12-2. After that, they go on the road to Alabama. I'm sorry, that has to be a loss. It doesn't have to be, but it likely is a loss. I think the Gamecocks can beat Missouri. I think the Gamecocks can beat Georgia. I think that Arkansas is going to be tough. I have that as a loss. I have Kentucky as a loss, even though we beat Kentucky last year. Crazier things have happened. I got the Gamecocks sweeping Missouri, a loss to Tennessee. I got them, I think, sweeping Georgia. Ole Miss, I have them beating Ole Miss. Vanderbilt, I think that should be a win. That's a home game. Looking at the rest of this, Auburn on the road, that's probably going to be tough. LSU, I think it's a home game, but I think at that point the Gamecocks would be 18-7 and 7-5 in the conference. So I think that's going to be a sneaky loss. Ole Miss on the road, I think will be tough. Anyway, long story short, I have the Gamecocks at 19-12 overall, 8-10 in the SEC, and I think that they will make the NIT. So that is the men's college basketball roundup, which is exciting. I'm so happy that college basketball is back. It's something that is long overdue. It's my favorite sport of the entire season. So excited for that. Let's check in on that Colorado LSU game. So currently, oh my gosh, are y'all watching this in real time? Who in the chat is watching this right now? Right now, Colorado is winning 81-62 over number one in the country LSU with 4 minutes and 48 seconds left in the fourth quarter. So, barring a miracle, it looks like Colorado is going to hand LSU a season opening loss. I would love to know what that line was on the women's game. Looking at LSU's team here, Angel Reese has 13 points and 11 rebounds. She is pretty much, in the top 3 for National Player of the Year. So interesting there. Yeah, Rodney. Yeah, they are getting the break speed off. This is something that I know that I'm not going to speak for Don Staley, but there are a lot of teams around the country that are enjoying the heck out of this outcome for LSU. All right, so you guys are gonna have to keep me up to date on that. I have closed that browser because I didn't want to jinx anything. And let's talk about the Gamecock game against Jacksonville State. Just looking quickly at the box score, and I saw a lot of flack about the Gamecocks offense. I saw a lot of flack about the Gamecocks defense. Let's actually start with the play-by-play. Looking at this game, obviously South Carolina forced a punt on the first possession of the game. 3 plays, 9 yards, punted the Gamecocks. Gamecocks scored a touchdown, made it 7-0. Tonka Hemingway, get off the tracks when the Tonka truck's coming through. That was awesome to see. After that, Gamecocks force another punt, and Gamecocks get the ball back. They go 4 plays, 25 yards in a minute and 20 seconds, and end up punting the ball back. So Kai Kroger, punts it for 36 yards, fair catch. Jacksonville State has it at the 15. Looking at this, Spencer actually completed a pass to Marion Brown for 19 yards. It was good to see. If you're like me, I thought, okay, Marion's back. Let's get the gang back together and let's start rolling. Then you had a Mario Anderson run for 2 yards. Spencer Radler completed Juju McDowell for 4 yards, and then an incomplete pass to Xavier Legette. Remembering that play in particular, I thought it was pretty much a fastball that might have been a little bit behind Xavier Legette. I think Spencer was just trying to rush that pass through, knowing that it was third down. But Gamecocks forced another punt. Jacksonville State goes 3 plays, 6 yards, and 46 seconds. So it's working out exactly like the Gamecocks were hoping for at this point. And the Gamecocks get the ball back up 7-0. And this is what we talked about on a couple different shows last week. But, the Gamecocks go 3 plays, 6 yards, a minute and 42 seconds. Gamecocks try and run the ball to start that drive. No gain. Spencer Rattler completes a pass for 8 yards to Mario Anderson. And then Juju has a 2-yard run. Gamecocks punt the ball. Kai Kroger had a really good punt there, 43 yards. But just from where South Carolina was punting the ball from, it wasn't a great punt. So Jacksonville State actually answers here, makes it a 7-7 game. They go 8 plays and 62 yards in a little less than 2.5 minutes. The tight end for Jacksonville State was a pretty good player. I don't want to, take anything away from Jacksonville State. They were 7-2 coming to the game, 7-3 overall. Should they have hung around with a Gamecock football team as long as they did? I don't think so. But is that what happened? Absolutely. So Gamecocks actually answer that drive when it's 7-7, and they go 5 plays, 70 yards in a minute and 41 seconds. So DJ Braswell, everyone's been hollering for DJ Braswell to get in the game. I think he had one chance in this game. It went for no gain. You had a humongous pass there to Xavier Legette for 52 yards. Juju had a completion for 10 yards, and then Joshua Simon got robbed. I thought that it was a bang play. I think it should have been a touchdown for Joshua Simon. And if you guys have been following along all year with me, I really could have used that tight end touchdown because I predicted at the beginning of the season the Gamecocks tight ends would combine for 10 total touchdowns. Actually texted some people that I've told that prediction to, and I said really got screwed there. But Spencer Rattler, kind of did the Jalen Hurts thing and scooted into the end zone for a touchdown. Gamecocks are up 14-7. Looking at the chat box here, Craig says, I thought we tackled terribly, never get our head around on deep throws, and they were very athletic on defense, tackled well, and pushed our D-line around running the ball. Yeah, I agree with you, Craig. I mean, it's the life of a Gamecock right now. I don't know what the answer is. It's so frustrating to watch, though. And yeah, Craig says 10 penalties, 100 yards. Legette with a terrible penalty on a punt. We just play losing football. Craig, it's funny. I was talking to my brother on the phone, and it was a little later in the game, but so obviously we'll get to it in a little bit, but the Gamecocks went with a fake punt and God bless Kai Kroger for even attempting that pass, but had no chance. But the pass, the fake punt pass was to Xavier Legette. And I told my brother, I was like, do you think that, Pete Limbo and Shane Beamer were playing the long con there and told Xavier to run into the punter, give up the 15 yards and set it up as Xavier as a gunner for later in the game, where they're going to have a fake punt to him. At this point, there's so much cute things that the coaches have done in the past that I wouldn't put it past the coaches to say, hey, we're going to have a stupid 15-yard penalty to set something up later. Drew says, face it, our coaching staff needs demoted or fired. There's a lot to that, Drew. I know that it's frustrating for me to watch. I know it's frustrating for everybody else to watch because at my core, I'm still a fan. I get frustrated. I want to turn the TV off. I want to go find something better to do, but this is just so ingrained in my soul that I'm going to put myself through this torture every single week. As far as coaching staff needs to be demoted or fired, I sit there and the more and more I think about it, I don't think there's a point in firing somebody mid-season. I know that Lincoln Riley just did that at Southern Cal. Obviously, their defense has given up 10,000 points in Lincoln Riley's time at Southern Cal, and maybe that was past due, and maybe that's why it happened. But I think it's really, really difficult to fire any coach mid-season and not make it a tougher time to hire a coach. If Shane Beamer was Nick Saban and Nick Saban made this move, mid-season or heck, maybe Lincoln Riley makes this move and he starts putting out feelers to everybody and their mother, and he already has the new defensive coordinator lined up right now. right now. I don't think it's something that Shane can do. And whether that's a good or a bad thing, I think that's just third year as a head coach. Can you really fire somebody midstream? I think that's what happened last year with Satterfield. I've said it over and over again. Satterfield knew that he was not going to be retained well before the end of the season and well before he took that job at Nebraska. I can't say that I know that with Clayton White. I think that, right now, I don't think Shane's focused on a replacement. I think Shane is focused on getting these kids to win 3 straight games and coaching them up as much as they can. And I know everybody's sick and tired of hearing, coach them up. We got to coach them better. We got to do a better job coaching. But honestly, like, that's all you can do at this point. There's 3 games left in the regular season. You got Vanderbilt, Kentucky, and Clemson, and you gotta win all 3. And making changes right now is not something that I think is going to happen. But all right, let's look. I'm going to look back at the comments. Craig says, I love these guys and this team, but we haven't been well coached. The defense has good players, but our D-line hasn't got any better. Yeah, Craig. We got 2 different coaches on the defensive line. Obviously, we don't have very many defensive line commitments right now for the recruiting class for next year. I think that that's obviously something that needs to be addressed. I think that, my friendship with Travian Robertson aside, I'll be honest, I haven't talked to Travian in 5, 6, 7 years. So it's not like we're best friends. But I do know Travian. I do know what he's about. And I have talked to enough people on the program to know what Travian's about. I do believe in Travian Robertson. Sterling Lucas, we'll see. I think that he's a great recruiter. I think that he has the ability to coach these guys up. I don't know if that's going to translate into the rest of the season. It might be a, butt kicking of a spring practice. It might be a butt kicking of summer workouts. It might be a butt kicking in fall camp, but they've got to do something different. And I don't disagree with any of you at all, especially, Craig and Drew, the way you're talking right now. I agree with you. Yeah. Drew, we are paying big money for no results. And it's funny because we talk about this on a couple of different shows that I'm on, and, take away the turnovers and take away the fake punts and the fake field goals and the punt returns for touchdowns and the block punts and the kick returns for touchdowns. Was that masking defensive inefficiencies? And, JB, who I respect the heck out of, asked me that question. And, I think with every week going forward, it's a question that needs to be asked and needs to be addressed. Yeah, Gamecocks, I don't know the contract, stuff around Clayton White. I know that he signed an extension recently. The Gamecocks would probably have to pay him money for him to go somewhere else. But yeah, I mean, as far as feelers, absolutely. If you think you can upgrade, your defensive coordinator position, I think you have to look into it. And I think you have to do something there and play the season out. I think that, I don't think anybody thinks like the next 3 weeks, the defense is just going to turn on its head and become, the steel curtain. Like, I don't think that's going to happen. But what I do think could happen is the Gamecocks find a way to win the next 3 games. And then all of a sudden are we going to have coaching continuity, or are we going to have a shakeup? So anyway, Drew says we have to look to next year. This one's shot. The season's not shot. I know that it feels that way. Gamecocks found a way to beat Jacksonville State. Stone Blanton, my hat off to you. We're not going to talk about the rest of the game right now. I think you guys know what happened. You don't need my play-by-play. But yeah, so, look to next year. You can't look to next year until this year's done. Right now, this year is not done. You got to find a way to rally. You got to find a way to get to 6 wins. And what happens after you don't get to 6 wins, or you do get to 6 wins? Like, that's on Shane. And Shane's got to make that decision, and he'll make the decision he thinks is best. Brian Gregory says, no way Frank's team would have won that game by that much. Yeah, actually, I kind of want to pull something up. So Frank last coached South Carolina in 2022. So funny enough, Frank's last year at South Carolina, first game of the season was against USC Upstate. South Carolina won 78-60, so won by 18. So yeah, Brian, you're right. Definitely might not have won by that much. I want to look at Frank's tenure here. In 21, South Carolina lost their season opening game to 98th ranked Liberty, 78-62. 2020 under Frank Martin beat North Alabama by 22, so pretty similar to what we saw today. Wow, I guess we must have like an every 2-year thing with USC Upstate. But in 2019, USC Upstate and South Carolina played in the season's opening tip-off, and South Carolina won 65-52 and followed that up with a 2-point loss to Stony Brook. So yeah, Brian, yeah, I agree with you. I like Frank a lot. I think he's a great person. I think he's a really good basketball coach. I think his time just wore out at South Carolina. But I'm really excited for what I saw tonight. South Carolina Thought South Carolina did a pretty good job tonight. Let's see. Drew says we must put feelers out. Yeah, absolutely. Put feelers out. I agree. Craig says go get Zach Arnett. He's about to be unhired. Yeah, Zach Arnett, I know, was somebody that Shane liked a lot last go around. I think that pairing Dowa Loggins and Zach Arnett would be actually a really, really good pairing, because Zach Arnett is not somebody that wants to go a million miles per hour on offense. I think that Dowa Loggins really doesn't want to go a million miles per hour on offense. I know it seems that way because the Gamecocks have had a handful of drives that are under 2 minutes in length every single game. But I don't think Dow is a guy that likes to go breakneck speed. I think Dow is a guy that likes to mix and match and get drives rolling, get drives going, put points on the board, and then attack when he has the opportunity, which is why, I see so much stuff out there and so much stuff about Dowa Loggins not being the right guy for the job. Obviously he stinks because the offensive line stinks, but Dowa's calling plays with two hands tied behind his back. And trust me, the way that Spencer is playing football right now, if you had an adequate offensive line in front of him without injuries, or even, go back. I mean, second play of the season, Case and Henry goes down. We can play the what if game all day, and I don't intend to do that. But go back to the spring game and the injury that we had with, can't remember his name right now. But go back to all those injuries, and it's just not playing with a full deck of cards. It's calling plays with two hands tied behind your back. But yeah, I think Zach Arnett and Dowa Loggins will be a really good pairing. I don't know if Zach Arnett will get fired, 1 year into his tenure, especially after Mike Leach's unfortunate passing. But yeah, I think that Craig's right. Zach Arnett and Dowa Loggins and Shane Beamer will be a dynamite trio. Drew says we got lucky last year. It's not happening this year. Absolutely. You are not wrong at all. Drew says commitments is going to get worse for leaving. No one wants to play for a losing team. You'd be surprised. You'd be surprised by that. A lot of times, these young kids feel like they have the ability to change programs. Jadeveon Clowney, Marcus Lattimore, those guys are testaments to that. Dylan Stewart. I mean, Dylan Stewart he came to the game against Jacksonville State. I don't know what else you can ask for an elite player still believing and trying to recruit other players to play with them. Craig says Travion's the right guy. I just mean these much hip guys like Huntley, Tonka, Barrett. They're okay, but haven't made the next step. They are what they are. I think Tonka, Barrett, I think that Huntley, I think that all these guys have the opportunity to get better. I think that, I can't explain what's going on with Huntley and Tonka specifically. I think that I thought it was a nice move for Shane to get Tonka involved, scoring a touchdown. Tonka had a big tackle for loss later on in this game. I don't think that that's what's necessary to get the guys going. But just looking at this really quick, I haven't looked at it yet, so I'm doing this in real time with you. But South Carolina had 1 sack against Jacksonville State. That's not uncommon with a primarily running quarterback. They had 6 tackles for loss. I think that it just boils down to, let's see, tackles for loss: Bam Martin Scott, Tonka, Jordan Strong, Keenan Nelson Jr., Tyreek Johnson, and DQ Smith. Yeah. It says something when most of the tackles for loss are not actual defensive linemen. So anyway, let's see. Yeah, Brian, my ceiling fan. Yeah, I don't know. It's weird. I'm battling the heat. I'm battling the cold. I'm like that person that never wants to turn the heat on, but at the same time, the ceiling fan. And if you want the real answer, Brian, the ceiling fan and the AC can actually cause issues with quality of sound. So that's why it's not on right now. So guys, Phil just let me know about 4 minutes ago. Down goes LSU. So Colorado pulled it out. That's always good for the Gamecocks because Gamecocks are still hunting the #1 seed in the NCAA tournament and women's basketball. Excited for that. But Jacksonville State, ha ha ha. I don't know what I must have misspoke there. Drew said this year will be 5-7 in a bowl game. Saw it this morning. Drew says, don't forget the loss to the Citadel. That loss is seared into my brain, along with Sean Elliott running out like a crazy man before the game started. Scott says Beamer exceeded expectations in year 1 and year 2. Obviously underachieving in year 3. Recruiting has been pretty good as well. Hopefully he can sign a strong class and hit the transfer portal hard. Yeah, absolutely, Scott. I don't think that Shane's ever going to be, the level of narcissism we saw from Dabo and Tyler, but yeah, I mean, Shane he's got to stand on his own 2 feet, and I don't always agree with everything Shane says, but he did overachieve in year 1 and year 2. Third year is always the toughest year for a college football head coach, especially a first time college football head coach. I'm not making excuses, but NIL, transfer portal, one-time transfer, free transfer, all of that has definitely not helped Shane. The fact that the Gamecocks are a little slow to embracing NIL the way that could potentially help Shane definitely hurt in the offseason. But Shane's signing good classes. Shane has good players. I think that, Shane says it every single week, and I know it just gets like, on repeat, and it just makes everybody angry, but we got to coach better. We got to put the guys in a better position to do well. Some guys were out of position, blah, 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 blah. And Shane says it every week. And, I don't know a better way for him to say it. I don't know what we expect of him in a press conference to actually say. I don't think that it'd be beneficial for Shane to, just cuss out every player on the team in front of us. I don't think it's beneficial for recruiting. I know that Shane is saying enough stuff behind closed doors, and Shane isn't, this nice guy. And Shane's a nice guy. Let me say that. Like, Shane's a really nice guy, but he has an edge to him, and it comes out behind closed doors. And, Shane is not somebody that's not going to, just absolutely pants an assistant coach. And, God, the best way to say it is like he will undress a coach and make them feel this big if he needs to. But, with the players, it's all on it's all on Shane. It's all on the coaches. They got to do a better job. And Shane has said that. Drew says that was for Spurrier. He was proven. Craig says, what up, Phil? Shout out to you, Mad Dog. Heck yeah. Gotta love Phil, guys. Phil is like, we can't say this around JB. JB won't give Phil credit, but Phil is an absolute bona fide, amazing producer. The fact that he does this every Monday with us at 9 p.m. Love Phil to death. We couldn't do the show without him. So everybody, if you see Phil around Greenville, or DM him, say thank you, and say it in the chat box. Phil's an absolute legend, and love Phil to death. Drew says Spurrier built a team on his known ability. Beamer does not have that credential. Yeah, absolutely, Drew. I mean, Shane's building it right now. Rome wasn't built in a day. Even Spurrier took a couple years to get things rolling at South Carolina. Shane is, I have to go back and look, but I feel like he's recruiting better than Spurrier did, right out the gate. I think that more of his players are going to make an impact, long term. So we'll see. We'll see. I mean, obviously, there's no Dowell Loggins that is going to be Steve Spurrier calling plays and, scheming up mismatches. Like Dowell might be really, really good, but there's only one Steve Spurrier. Yeah, it's just tough. I mean, I just encourage everybody to let's look at it. Let's look at it for what it is. It's hard to get mad at somebody for overachieving his first 2 years and having a down year. I do it in my personal life. I do it in my work life. I do it all over the place. If I had a good day yesterday, the next day needs to be better. And the next day needs to be better. The next day needs to be better. The next day has to be better. And then if it's not better, oh my gosh, it's the worst day in the world. Like, how could this have happened to me? And, running a college football program, I can only imagine is like that. And nobody wants to win more than these players. Nobody wants to win more than these coaches. And us as fans, we just got to support them. And, nobody's above criticism. I'll go ahead and say that. Like, nobody's above criticism, but, criticize, sleep on it, decide if it was worth it the next day, and go forward. But yeah, it's hard to be a Gamecock. I'm not going to call it Shamecocks, Drew, but yeah, it's hard to be a Gamecock. I see stuff on my Facebook where people are saying we need to go play in Jacksonville State's conference. We've won our last 12 games there, but that's not what anybody wants to do. Nobody wants to go play in a non-Power 5 conference and, what? Okay, you win a couple games and you go play in, whatever bowl that's not on New Year's Day. Nobody wants to do that. The Gamecocks have got to find a way to continue to compete, continue to recruit, and get better and better every single day. And it's the life of a Gamecock. It's not, we've had the best of years with Spurrier. I think that, being back in Williams-Brice Stadium, I think that there'll be a bigger crowd for Vanderbilt than there was against Jacksonville State. I think you build some momentum. You go win that Vanderbilt game. You got to win it, but go win that Vanderbilt game. Kentucky comes to town. It's announced it's a 7:30 kickoff. A night game at Williams-Brice is different. So, all we can do is support the team right now. Let's keep rolling. A big win on the season at this point is getting to bowl eligibility. Get to 6-6, go to 3 straight bowls, and we're all going to be really, really happy if the Gamecocks are able to beat Clemson in Williams-Brice Stadium. And look, if the Gamecocks are, 5-6, and Clemson got a big win against Notre Dame this week, and maybe that's a good thing. Maybe the Gamecocks get another night game in Williams-Brice, and it doesn't take much for Gamecocks to get excited again. That's one thing I've learned. We can be down in the dumps, but the Gamecocks will get back up and they'll support the team. I see here that Craig said, give more money, guys. If we just had the 70,000 people in the stands, give to the 1801 club. That's a huge number. You spend more than that on Chick-fil-A for 2. Absolutely. I'm not going to look. NIL is what it is. I think that the biggest thing that we can do is educate people, and that's what Craig's doing right now. Drew, Drew, I'll get to you in a second, but yeah, the NIL stuff, if you can get people to donate 1801 a month, continue donating. Don't be somebody that just, comes and blows with the wind. Got to understand this is a long-term investment, and the second that somebody stops donating is a problem. I will say though that, the stuff that JC's doing, I mean, he will actually give you back all your money you donated if you come up on hard times. And, that's the kind of thing that NIL is supposed to be about. Family. It's supposed to be about commitment. It's supposed to be about all those things. But at the end of the day, we're all Gamecocks. And the power of a collective is 70,000 people donating 1801 a month. So I don't want to say more on NIL. You guys have heard my spill on it. I think that everybody should be donating. Drew says, like I said, a prediction: South Carolina will play a bowl at 5-7. If they play a bowl at 5-7, we got to embrace it. Drew says, I don't know how we can beat Kentucky or Clemson. We are less than one-dimensional. Absolutely, but crazy things happen in college football. I would have bet my life savings. I would have bet my house. I would have bet if I could have bet every bit of money I had in my entire life that I've made, and I could find a penny off the ground or 2 pennies that were like you're rusted up and all that, I would have bet it all that Gamecocks would have lost to either Tennessee or Clemson last year. I would have bet every penny I've ever seen in my entire life, and the Gamecocks found a way. I don't know if that's going to happen this year. I can't say it could happen, but I'm just saying the crazier things happen. Williams-Brice is a crazy place. Let's see what the Gamecocks can beat Vanderbilt this weekend. Beat Vanderbilt, and a lot of things come back on the table for the Gamecocks. All of a sudden, you're 4-6. Kentucky's quarterback isn't great. He had a great game last week against whoever they played, Tennessee. But crazier things have happened. It's Williams-Brice. You're looking at Vanderbilt at 12 o'clock this weekend. You're looking at a night game against Kentucky and potentially, a late afternoon night game against Clemson. Crazier things have happened, y'all. I just, it's game by game at this point. We can't get too far ahead of ourselves, and I'm always guilty of it too. But we'll see what happens. I mean, I would have bet every penny I had, penny I've seen, my friend's money, my boss's money. I would have bet everything that the Gamecocks would have lost at least one to Tennessee or Clemson. And I probably would have taken both of those schools by 35 points. So yeah, Drew, I think you're on the right page here, but it's football. We'll see what happens. But y'all, I appreciate y'all being here tonight. We've gone a little bit long, but this is exactly what I want to do. Please, come back every Monday. I'm enjoying seeing some familiar names here. Me and Craig are friends on Facebook now, and that's awesome. So continue to come back. I know that, you're giving me something that is the most valuable thing you have, which is your time. And that's never lost on me. I know that where I give my time is very valuable, and I just appreciate all of y'all so much. And I'll be back Thursday night. We'll talk more Gamecock sports. I'm so happy that there are 3 Gamecock sports that are happening at the same time. We shouldn't run out of things to talk about, and just appreciate y'all so much. And I'll talk to you Thursday. I hope you have a great one. Talk to you later. Bye, y'all.